Hello and welcome to the organization. My name is Heather Johnson and I am the Director of Compliance. Today we'll review an overview of the Compliance and Member Benefits Department. First, meet my team. I have on my team Jen Faber, who is our lead compliance specialist, 4 other compliance specialists, and Mandy Radley, who is our member benefits specialist. Our team works nationally and we have staff in almost every time zone in the U.S. currently. We're going to do a little bit of an introduction to the Compliance and Member Benefits Department, our mission, our structure, and our tasks. The mission of the Compliance and Member Benefits Department is to create and implement the internal controls that are designed to reduce the risk of noncompliance to the organization. Basically what that means is that every federal agency is paired with a corresponding Office of the Inspector General. And the purpose of the Office of Inspector General is to overview and audit and be an independent check on all of our federal agencies. So what they do is they prevent and detect fraud, waste, and abuse of federal funds. So we have a Compliance and Member Benefits Department here at our organization so that we can do that before they can. So we're responsible for ensuring that the Inspector General doesn't have anything to do when they come and see us. We also in our department administer the program required benefits and other member supports. That's the member benefits part. Our structure, we are a part of the operations department at the organization, and internally in our department, how we work is that all of my compliance specialists and member benefits specialists cover day-to-day compliance tasks. So they work with cohorts. They are paired with specific regional teams to help promote partnership with those regions, even though they're not supervised under the same regions. They also are responsible for leading training for new staff, and as I mentioned, we have a national scope on our team. Additionally, everyone on my team is a project manager, so every time we have something coming up for the year, each of my team members will take turns at being the lead for different projects. So that's usually process improvement or implementing a new rule or procedure. And again, those projects are national in scope, as all of our team goals are. For our department tasks, we ensure that program, staff, member, and service site partners are all in compliance with AmeriCorps rules and regulations. So as you notice, we do have quite a large compliance and member benefits department, especially for a nonprofit. And that is because there are a lot of AmeriCorps rules and regulations. So our department tasks, in order to ensure that we remain in compliance, we're going to have 3 main areas that we concentrate on, which is prevent, detect, and then mitigate. So we prevent any issues of noncompliance through creating policy and procedure documents, resource materials that further explain those policies and procedures, and then of course trainings. We can't expect anybody to be able to follow rules and regulations if we don't train them on it. The next part of our job is to detect any issues of noncompliance, and we do that through tracking and monitoring. So a lot of reports in our database, which we use QuickBase for to track things, monitoring timesheets, exits, suspensions, all of that, and then auditing files. So we do a lot of audits, and that's just to make sure, again, that we are detecting any issues of noncompliance. And then lastly, mitigate. That comes up usually on case-by-case basis. So our team is on hand if an issue comes up in your department, your role that you think is an issue of noncompliance. That's what we're here for, to help you troubleshoot how to mitigate that issue. We work in close collaboration with really the whole organization, but specifically program managers and program specialists as they interact with members who have the most rules and regulations surrounding how they are required to do things. Finance, information systems, and grants, and those are usually hand in hand if we have rules that we need that touch on any of their items of expertise. And then we also work with the learning and training team, again, making sure that anything that is implemented is also adhering to the rules and regulations for AmeriCorps. So I have said non-compliance quite a bit already in this presentation. We're only a few minutes in, but you might be wondering at this point in your introduction to our organization, when we say non-compliance, what are we talking about? Non-compliance with what? So again, mostly what we're concerned about are the AmeriCorps rules and regulations, because there are a lot of them. So this circle, and you probably won't be able to see it from your screen too easily, but it's These are all of the different sources of laws, rules, regulations, policies, procedures that are created by AmeriCorps and then the other agencies that work with AmeriCorps, and they are in order of specificity in this diagram, if you're wondering. So at the top, you'll see the law that authorized AmeriCorps to even be a thing. Like, why can we divert federal spending for this AmeriCorps thing? That's that top law. The next is, how can we spend the money that we get for AmeriCorps in the CFR, and what other rules govern the use of this money? What is an allowable use of this money? And then we get into the actual specific year-by-year grants. So we are on grant cycles that we are periodically awarded new AmeriCorps grants, and every year we get new terms and conditions depending on the flavor of the year, what is the current issue or risk. There's always new terms and conditions that we need to implement, and that is something that our team looks at. And then, of course, just like the FAQs that come out, all AmeriCorps programs ask a lot of questions of the federal AmeriCorps program, and they periodically release answers to those frequently asked questions, so we monitor those. So this list looks intimidating, but the great news is that's why we have a department here at our organization, so that we take all of this information and then translate it into those trainings and policies and procedures that we then pass on to the rest of our staff, so that you don't have to pay attention to what else is going on there. And we'll tell you what you need to know and what actually is going to apply to your new role in our organization. So I mentioned that we condense this all down for you and create a new policy document that is a lot shorter than reading the pages and pages and pages of all of those different sources of law in that last slide. And we call those our program operating policies. So what we do here at this organization is we run AmeriCorps programs. So when we create these policies, it is how do you successfully, in every corner of it, run a compliant and successful AmeriCorps program. What do you need to get off the ground? What do you need to have in place? So we've created those with our program operating policies. They are available if you've already had your Ignite training. They are available in our shared drive. And then there is a program operating procedures folder. And at the bottom, you'll see it is condensed, I swear, from the laws that are already in place, but it is like 40 pages. But we've numbered the policies so you can really zero in on which ones actually apply to your role with a little bit more ease than digging through all of the other laws. But you will find those in Ignite, and you should know where those are. You should know that you can find them in our shared drive. Okay, so like I said, our department creates program policies based on all of those sources. We also are responsible for creating and training on the processes that include any compliance aspect. So our AmeriCorps members have very specific rules for how they are officially deemed in service, how they exit service, what happens if they need to be suspended from service, so take a leave of absence, any process that touches on their background checks, benefits, file management. All of that is written by my team and updated annually. In a lot of these processes, the program specialists, which are embedded on regional teams, those program specialists are critical for us to be able to implement a lot of these processes. We also lead and create training, so annual refreshers on all of the policies and the processes that go along with them. So you'll never be wondering, I don't know how to exit someone. Last time I got that training was 3 years ago. We'll do refreshers that have really timely reminders. Keep that top of mind. And we also advise, consult with staff on how to interpret the policies. So again, we wrote them because we read the laws and we thought we wrote them in plain language, but sometimes a situation comes up and you're just not sure how to apply our written policy, and it is our department's job to help make sure that you can apply our policies to any situation. And then lastly, just read them, at least skim them. Again, know where they are. That's the most important part, so that when you're wondering if something applies to your job or not, going and just reading the titles of those policies and finding the ones that are going to apply to you is going to be incredibly helpful. Okay, so our major areas of responsibility in the Compliance and Member Benefits Department are background checks, e-grants, which I'll explain what that is, audits, training, and member benefits. So, first up are the National Service Criminal History Checks, the NSCHC. And this is a very specific phrase, and this is an acronym you'll likely hear a lot because it's a specific set of background checks. So, for some jobs you'll hear you have to do like FBI level 2 screening or like a DHS background study. Those are specific terms that refer to specific types of background checks, and it's the same thing with NSCHC. It is a specific set of background checks that we are required to run because we receive this federal funding through AmeriCorps, and we're required to run it on both staff and members. So all of the background checks that you had to complete and clear before you are sitting here watching this video, all of our AmeriCorps members have to go through the exact same process. All of our staff, no matter what their role, has to go through that exact same process. So my team is responsible for coordinating and leading the required background check process for members, site supervisors, content experts, anyone that is going to be receiving federal funds through AmeriCorps via our organization. Our major responsibilities in there are that we have to verify member and staff identity. So that's a process by which we have to look at the current photo ID of everyone who we're running a background check on. So in this last year, I believe that means that we looked at over 2,000 IDs. And that's just a simple check of making sure that the person who's applied for our program is the person who then comes and sits in the chair and performs the service. So that's like a visual identity, checking their identity. We review and adjudicate the results, and then we document any findings. So our department does all of that review, and then anytime there's anything on a background check that we need to escalate, that is escalated to an appeal committee, which is made up of a few of our executive leadership team. We use TrueScreen and FieldPrint as our preferred vendors because they check all the boxes for AmeriCorps requirements. They make it as easy as possible to adhere to the AmeriCorps requirements, which when we are a national program and have to run background checks in over 8 states now at least, and that's only if they are in the state that they applied. We also have to run background checks on states of residence if someone's moving out of state in order to join our program. It is essential that we have an easy vendor that is also able to cross borders and get the background checks we need with a minimum amount of work. So TrueScreen and FieldPrint are the preferred vendors that we use. And that would have been the process that all of you went through before you started. Okay, one of our next areas of responsibility is the member enrollment process. So I mentioned eGrants. eGrants is a very specific site. And eGrants, it's the member management portal that's used for all AmeriCorps programs throughout the U.S. This system is how AmeriCorps knows that we, in our state, in our program, have an AmeriCorps member enrolled and are on their way toward earning an education award, which is one of the Siegel Education Award is one of the main benefits of serving in an AmeriCorps program. At the end of your successful service term, you receive an education award from the federal government. And eGrants is how they track that. So our responsibility as a program is to say, yes, we've got boots on the ground, and we have to enroll them in this system called eGrants. The member-facing side is called My AmeriCorps because, as you will learn, everything has to be just a little bit complicated in order to be an AmeriCorps process or system. So eGrants is on our side. That's like the back end of the system. My AmeriCorps for our members. That's how they do enrollment. In order to become enrolled, in order to get those boots on the ground, our team is also responsible for sending, approving, and managing all of the required online paperwork for our members, and we do that through a system called iSIMS, which we also use for our staff recruitment. We verify their eligibility to serve with the program, so that's checking identity. It's also checking for minimum eligibility requirements per AmeriCorps standards. And we do that at something we call a pre-service registration session because all of that has to be done, again, before they can set foot at our service sites. We have to make sure that they're pre-approved in order to be able to start. So we do that at pre-service registration sessions. And occasionally AmeriCorps, the slide refers to CNCS, which was the former name of AmeriCorps. They occasionally would ask for additional documentation to ensure that someone's actually eligible to receive federal funds before they start with our program. And then we also have to do a very tedious process called using eGrants invitations and enrollment. So we have to send all of our prospective members out this invitation in this old website that hasn't been updated since 97. They have to confirm, yes, I am trying to be a member in this program. Please verify that I'm eligible. And then that's what comes back to us. So that's all part of the member enrollment process, which is under the responsibility of my department. Audits are an additional area of responsibility for us. So I mentioned this a little bit, but we do internal audits at least twice a year after the major start dates as a quality control to identify risk and determine any process or policy changes, and also as a way to prepare us for external audits. We get audited by all of our funders all of the time, and those can include the state commission. It can include AmeriCorps itself. It could include the inspector general that I mentioned earlier as an independent audit coming in. Our private funders, we get a lot of funding from interested corporations or other grant sources, and they all have the right to audit any activity that they themselves are helping to fund at any time. So that is another thing that we need to prepare for. We also get financial audits. Frequently, we're required to because of how large our organization is. So we always have a CPA firm come in and do a financial audit, and that is all what we're trying to prepare for when we do our internal audits, making sure that the files that need to be in a member file to prove that they're eligible, to prove that they're doing allowable service in order for them to actually be earning that education award or biweekly living stipend, or that our staff is allocating their time correctly on their time cards to the right grants. That's all part of that quality control. All right, and again, I've mentioned that our team hosts monthly or bi-monthly compliance trainings. You will likely not be required to go to every one. We always state when we send out our invitations who is required to go, who is preferred to go, and then who is maybe just an FYI for. Many of our trainings are, like I said, annual, so they're going to be refreshers every year. And just a couple of the main topics that we train on every year to help us mitigate risk are on member exits, member suspensions, tracking member hours, especially allowable service, like what can our members be doing, what shouldn't they be doing with federal funding, documentation, there's always a documentation refresher, and then as well as any other laws that will affect our members. So in particular, I have FERPA here, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and the majority of our programs are education-based programs. So the Educational Rights and Privacy Act applies to a lot of what we do, and we have to make sure that we're also in compliance with that, which is, again, a federal law, has nothing to do with AmeriCorps, but because of the nature of our programs, it's an additional training topic to make sure that everyone is aware of what that means and what our obligations are. Okay, so our final area of responsibility in the Compliance and Member Benefits Department. We are very compliance heavy. We have 5 staff that are devoted to compliance, and we have just one that is our member benefits specialist, and she does all of this work herself. And that covers our member health insurance, any information, questions about the Siegel Education Award and loan forbearance during service, child care assistance that's provided by AmeriCorps if you meet certain requirements, our member assistance program, which is available to all of our members and their dependents, regardless of how many hours per week they're serving or what position they're in. That one's available to everybody. And then member verification. So if someone's trying to get a loan or get a verification of their service for as an apartment reference or something, that is all done by our member benefits specialist. So they are a point of contact directly for members. Our member benefit specialist, and staff, obviously, for consultations. Also, she creates resources on all benefits, can assist members with their child care assistance applications, and on occasion will partner with the Director of Service Experience in the program department in order to develop and create other member benefits that might be helpful in any of our locations. So, for example, one thing that our member benefit specialist does for our Minnesota team is work with members on getting TAP cards, which is a a transportation assistance program where they get bus fares for cheap. Our members get bus fares for cheaper. So that's something that, in coordination with the Director of Service Experience, that they found was going to be of benefit for our members, figured out a way to do it, and then our member benefits specialist actually coordinates that process now. So if you ever have a good idea for a benefit in the community that we can try to help connect our members with, that is something that our member benefits specialist can help with. Okay, so that is it for me. So thank you so much for spending a part of your onboarding day with me. If you have any questions about anything that was contained in this presentation, please contact our team. So you can either contact me directly, the Director of Compliance, heather.johnson@servetogrow.org, or our shared inbox, the compliance.team@servetogrow.org is always a great place to go. And then our member benefits specialist has a different inbox, and you can reach her for any questions about member benefits at memberbenefits@servetogrow.org. So thank you, and have a fantastic rest of your week.